Welcome, everyone, to another CIE Industry Night. I'm your host, Brian Hernandez, and tonight we're bringing back a fan favorite panel, Revive Me Jet. We're going to be deep diving into the intersection between gaming and mental well being, debunking some major myths, and talk about how to survive and thrive both on and off the server. We have an absolutely stacked lineup of experts with us today. Please welcome to the stage Lamy Siki Nguyen, Santiago Snoopsy One Duran, Eric Licorice Ritchie, and Chris Funston. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's warm things up a bit. Going down the line, quickly introduce yourselves and let us know who is your favorite video game character and why. We could start with Lanby.
Okay, hi guys. I'm Lambie. I have been working in esports for about 2 years. Started at Humber Esports as a health and wellness coach for our players and staff, and have done that for 2 years. Really enjoyed it. And my favorite video game character, that's a hard one. Um, I don't know. I think like Misfortune from League of Legends right now because like A, she's my main, and I also like her lore, her backstory. So yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to the next person.
Sure thing. Let's go to Santiago.
Yeah, hi, I'm Santiago, also known as Snoop ST1. Currently mental performance coach for Lotus 8 Esports and FC Pro player. And also in terms of esports experience, I also have a esports lounge at the high school I work at. So I work in an alternative high school in Chicago. So um let's see, favorite video game character. At the moment, I kinda am relating a lot to not too much because it's a video game, but Kratos, just because I feel like
Mm.
Kratos had that transition from being the very, like, chaotic, destructive into kind of almost like a father figure almost to, I forgot the other character's name in the newer games. Um, so yeah, I kinda relate in that way because I feel like my journey as a FC pro player and mental performance coach and also licensed professional counselor, that's the other part I forgot. Um, Kinda feels like there's a lot of chaos going on, and it feels like I'm now relating to the part where Kratos is more reflective, and he's like, "No, I'm not gonna be in my ways of destructive, I'm gonna reflect now," like that type of stage, so, yeah.
Sounds great. Awesome. Let's go to Eric.
Yeah, hi. I played 1 year in the Challenger Series for League of Legends and 8 years in the LCS. And I have now transitioned to being kind of like a performance slash life slash development coach. And I'm super excited about doing that work now. And my favorite video game character, I'm gonna say like my favorite league champ is Poppy, so I'm just gonna go with that. I feel like video game character is just like such a big question, so nothing else is coming up for me. But yeah,
Great. This sounds awesome. Let's go to Chris.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Funston. I'm the Assistant Esports Director at St. Clair College in Windsor, Ontario. My main focuses are recruiting and retention. We have about 200 students directly involved within our program, either as players, coaches, managers, broadcasting, marketing, content creators, in addition to thousands indirectly involved that come by our lounge, our facilities, and take advantage of all the resources that we have there on campus. I've been involved in esports. I think I started as a writer in like 2015. Somehow fumbled my way into the job here in 2019. Video favorite video game character. I was originally going to say Cloud, but I don't think he's necessarily the pinnacle of mental health and well-being. As you can see, I have a Buster Sword behind me. But I think secondary would go with Thrall from Warcraft. He's always cool, calm, and collected. I also have some stuff of his around here too. So yeah, he's my favorite.
Love that. Love that. As for me, I definitely love the character depiction of like Master Chief from Halo, mostly due to like how he's so stoic and lucky on the situations he had been through other games. Like if you play from, I would say like Halo 4 at the beginning of the story, you could see him, I believe, jumping off like a ship and him managing to like survive and land on a planet or something. I believe that's like really awesome and kind of extreme as well. So love that. I love all your answers. So now to get a little deeper, what was it that interested you in, all in the mental and physical well-being side of esports? Like, is this something you always wanted to get into? And let's start with Lanwy.
Me? We're gonna start with me. What an honor. So I was when I first got into esports, I was studying kinesiology over at Guelph Humber for a degree in applied sciences, specifically for kinesiology. And then I was also um, doing a diploma in health and fitness promotion, and I thought, why not combine what I'm learning in school and things that I'm passionate about into esports? So finding my passion and then bringing my little niche into the esports industry, and that's how I broke into collegiate esports.
Sounds super great. Thank you. Let's go to Santiago.
Yeah, kind of when I first got into esports, I always kind of observed that mental health aspect. So the first esport I ever got into was Call of Duty. And that was
Mm,
around like that peak era, like Black Ops 2 sort of era. And I think that's also when like Twitch streams were starting off too. I remember watching Optic Nate Shot stream, and he was one of those players where like I don't know, feel like the fan base would always talk about him and be like, he's not that good. But it was just the mentality part that I always observed. And so another aspect is kind of like watching my older brother play video games and also observing my own habits when I play video games is just kind of like noticing how that mental aspect is always a key. So like compared to when I was like 11 and like holding the controller frustrated because I lost versus now like all right, just take a breath. Just um but kind of similar to um in terms of like combining that passion, I was able to combine kind of like my mental health career with my esports career. It wasn't until like grad school when I was working on my master's in clinical mental health counseling. I had a professor who I guess she observed like how excited I was talking about certain things, especially in a presentation where I was able to integrate like, hey, I have a Twitch stream and I was able to shout out my Twitch stream, but I was doing it in such a way that was like, I don't know, they saw something and they're like, you should really combine those passions. And then eventually I decided to stream on Twitch for a little bit and got into mental health stuff there too. And it just opened up a lot more where I'm just like mental health is very, very important in the world of gaming and esports, along with physical health, but it's always, I don't know, a combination. So
Love that. Love that. Let's go to Eric.
Yeah, I had kind of a different entry into it. Um, I mean, like for me, I started off as like a pro player, and the thing that I kind of realized after a couple years is that like even though I was doing super well, I wasn't actually very happy. And so that kind of kickstarted me getting more into the mental health side of things. And so I worked very closely with a lot of like the sports psychologists that I had on the teams I was on, and started going to therapy because I was just really trying to figure out like what was going on, that like I was doing, like living the life that I'd always wanted, and it wasn't actually making me happy. And um, so yeah, that's been like a really long journey for me to kind of like figure that out, and kind of eventually came to the conclusion that actually, while think I had like a really good long run, that being a competitor in esports wasn't going to be for me for forever. And so I'm just transitioning out and excited to help other people who are kind of like in a similar position. Because I think like I'm a little biased, but I think like when I'm watching like a league match or an esports match, and I look at like, and I'm just watching the player cameras, I'm generally not seeing many super happy people. Uh, so just kind of like working in that world of like, um, yeah, helping people be happy doing the work that they're doing. And I think like even though I decided to quit, I don't think that's like the place that everyone's going to end up or the answer that everyone's going to come to. And yeah, just to support people in however they're going through that.
Love that. Love that. Especially with like the quote that you mentioned, like helping people be happy. Yeah, that's a really great message to like spread out through the gaming industry and such. Especially with like people being being played and playing games in like in a toxic environment, especially it will cause them like some mental drain, like really create some lack of energy within that throughout the day. So especially like helping others like cheer up, like boosting their gaming performance or like their what they love playing. I especially love like just like camaraderie, just like the great messages and a healthy gaming style.
Yeah. No, thanks. And is it okay if I add one more thing?
Oh, sure thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like something that was true for me, and I think is true for a lot of other people, but I don't know, is that like winning feels really good, but that losing hurts more than winning feels
Mhm.
good. And so just like figuring out how to balance your life so that you can make that work, I think is a real challenge. And I think it is like a challenging world to be a part of. So
Great, awesome. Let's go to Chris.
Yeah, so I've been living with depression for over 20 years now. I feel like I've kind of experienced and seen it all. I dropped out of college several times, largely due to that. I was able to kind of, figure it all out eventually. And now, like with my position, I have a lot of students that, like, I'm going through the exact same things that I did, and I see myself in them, whether good or bad. And I can resonate with a lot of the things that they're going through now. Well, all that stuff really isn't in the job description of what I do, but it doesn't mean that it's not incredibly important. Um, so just being able to understand that everyone is always going through something, and
Mhm.
that if they're going to be feeling better, whether it's physically or mentally, they're going to have a better output or performance, whether it's in the classroom, in their relationships, in real life, or in the game. So it's a pretty big emphasis that we put on here. Not to say that we can handle everything, because I'm not a trained professional, of course, right? But I try to listen, right? I think that's the most important thing, is just understanding that a lot of kids, especially in college, are coming from far away. They don't have their friends or their family anymore, and they just kind of want a place to be comfortable. And that's what I try to provide a lot of the time. I never say that I have all the answers. I'll do my best, point you in the right direction as best as I can. But I just try to be an open ear a lot of the time. And I think that's what a lot of times students are just kind of looking for.
Great responses from you guys. Thank you. So, from your specific vantage points across the industry, how has the conversation around mental health in gaming actually changed in the last 5 years? And where is the industry still falling woefully short? I would like to start with Santiago.
Um, from my specific points, yeah, I think it has changed a lot. I want to say, yeah, in the last 5 years, we're in 2026. It definitely has changed a lot. I feel like there's been streamers such as Healthy Gamer who has kind of like pushed that conversation. And I'm sure before Healthy Gamer, there was also other streamers who were trying to push the conversation for mental health. So I think it's actually changed a lot, even in, especially in professional settings as well for esports. I think for my FC Pro experiences, when I have like coaching sessions with somebody else or something, there's a lot of talk about the mental aspect. And
Mhm.
I feel like over the past 5 years, it's kind of been more emphasis, not like it's never been there, but it's always been there. It just sort of like now, if you want to be the best, you have to also keep in mind the mental aspect of the game. And then also the aspect of just kind of like having fun. I feel like that's kind of gone away a little bit in a lot of like these games, where a lot of people, have the conversation about, losing, feeling worse than winning. I am one of those people for sure, but I also have been learning throughout my life that it's okay to have fun in video games too, and have a select, even if it's just like ranked with friends or just like
Mhm.
anything casual or not casual, just kind of like playing the game, like always remembering like what are you doing this for? It's like for fun. So I still think the industry kind of falls short though in terms of providing like legit mental health resources in a way. I feel like sometimes like, the whole thing with like, what was it, Better Help, I believe, that like started off where it was like a trend where,
Mm.
and then like I think there was rumors that like it wasn't legit, or like the credentials of the therapists weren't, something like that.
Mhm.
But I feel like there are esports organizations out there that are, kind of pushing towards making up for what they're falling short for. So, for example, Lotus A Esports, the org I'm in with mental performance, we also have like meditation coach. We have like, I believe, like a physical therapy sort of coach.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's kind of like a holistic approach with mental health and physical health. So I feel like the more the esports industries kind of go towards that, then they'll start not to fall as short. But I don't know. I think it's still heading in the right direction, even though there's still, I feel, a lot of toxicity out there.
Definitely. Thank you. Let's go to Eric.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's trending in the right direction. Like I think there is a lot more awareness around mental health, and like I've always been one who thought that like video games especially has like a huge mental aspect, because it's not like you've kind of removed the whole physical realm from it, so it's just like mechanics and mental, and
Mhm.
of course like game understanding and stuff too. But um, so I've always thought it was really important, but I think I think like while it is trending upwards, and I think a lot more teams are investing in like sports psych coaches or like coaches that are there for like the players and to support them. I kind of think at the end of the end of the day, it is like kind of limited by the competitive nature of the scene because like I think it's a world where performance is king. Like it is like the one and only thing that matters at the end of the day. And um like if a team owner had the option of like you're gonna win worlds, but your players are gonna be miserable, they're gonna like hit that button every time.
Hmm.
Um which is just like that is how the world works. And I think the players would all hit that button too. But I just think like kind of fundamentally, I don't think it's ever gonna be like this super healthy, happy space. Like it's competition and like it is gonna like everything that goes with that is gonna come in. And I think like bringing more mental health awareness in and helping players kind of like build those skills, like learning how to meditate or um, kind of like exploring some things that they might like outside of the game or just like kind of like dipping their toes into that world, I think is super important. Especially for like kind of the transition out of esports if that's like kind of a pathway that people are interested in.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think like it's getting better and I don't think it's ever gonna get like perfect or something.
I definitely agree. Let's go to Chris.
Sure. So I think they all kind of hit the nail on the head with it. It's really hard to pinpoint, but like we're seeing growth for sure. But then we obviously still see setbacks every now and again. I think the further we go, especially with the growth within like scholastic and collegiate esports, we're going to see it get better and better. Just like within traditional sports, right? Like they learn these types of things much earlier in life. They're bonding with people earlier. They're getting out. They're meeting people. They're communicating. They're
Hmm.
solving conflicts earlier, and they know how to they understand and have those skills to do it later on in life rather than learning how to do it at 19 or 20. So I think as the further we go along, we're going to see the development kind of because we started at the top, right, with the pro level. Now we're kind of trying to go backwards and start. Now we're kind of trying to meet in the middle. But over time, it's getting better. Especially like we talk to a lot of coaches that have received pro players from collegiate, and a lot of the times they will kind of gas them up in a way that like yeah they've they've learned a lot of skills that I don't have to teach them now because you guys did that. Not for us in particular because we haven't sent the most already, but we know that a lot of other schools have, and they kind of they don't really take that for granted. Like a lot of the times we'll hear about I chose this player because he went the collegiate route because he was able to kind of mature a little bit more, and kind of develop those skills rather than me having to teach him from the start.
Awesome responses. Thank you. So let's shift into how gaming actually affects us day to day. Um, How does gaming impact mental health, both positively and negatively? And what role does the social interaction in gaming play in our overall emotional well being? Let's start with Santiago.
Um, I feel like gaming impacts mental health positively, negatively, depending on how like one approaches it in a way. So I feel like there might be more negative effect if let's say you're just always playing ranked and you don't have like a kill game to play to just kind of like maybe just mindlessly play, not really have to focus too much. And then maybe somebody has like a good set schedule where like, all right, I play my competitive games or I only play story mode games or I only play single player games. So I think it just really depends on what type of games one plays that positive and negative impacts come in. Um, and then in terms of social interaction and gaming play and overall mental and emotional well-being, it has its positives because there's social development opportunities through gaming, just kind of talking to random people. But random people can also be very toxic. So that can also kind of impact mental and emotional well-being because then it could get I've had my experiences where I get like, maybe rage baited, maybe like not out loud, but maybe in chat for Rocket League or something.
Mhm.
They would have saved me, and then I have to type something back. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel like there's always it's both positive and negative, but that balance is really dependent on one's mentality when playing, especially even that reflective part. I think it was talked about earlier of kind of like you win, but then you kind of don't really feel happy or joy.
Mhm.
And I remember feeling that way. I think it was my first ever like FC tournament. I think it was like in person. It was like a local tournament that I was trying to win forever. Like I had gotten second place, I don't know how many times.
Mm.
And then I finally got first, but it was weird because I didn't feel joy or anything. I just
Mhm.
felt like relief. It just felt relief where I was just kind of like, like it's over. But I didn't feel like I'm so proud of myself. I'm so happy. It was a very weird, like, kind of reaction to success. So that's what I mean, where it's like if you're just too focused on like I have to do this, I have to do this, then that joy and positive can go out. So yeah.
Thank you. Let's go to Lanvi.
So, what was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, sure thing. So, how does gaming impact mental health both positively and negatively? And what role does the social interaction in gaming play in our overall emotional well-being?
Okay, so I feel like the positive like impacts of like gaming is that when sometimes when you work really hard and in a positive way, then and you get a positive outcome, it's very rewarding. But sometimes we don't always get the result that we want, and then sometimes we kind of like shoot ourselves in the foot and be like, oh, like only if, and like we dwell on like the ifs, and like could like I could have done this, I should have done that, and like just dwell on things that you can't change anymore. And I think like a big thing that some players and like even anyone like can take this advice is that you can only control so much in the moment. Like some things are out of your hands, and then at the same time the decisions you make during that split second moment is what you thought was best in that moment, so you can't really just, you know, blame yourself. You thought that was the right thing to do at that time. So there's that. I'm so sorry. There's like a train outside.
It's all good.
But um uh yeah, so there's only so much you can do, and I think it's just a situation where positive mind like reframing is what's needed. So I guess that's like a negative outcome that has some solutions, but at the same time, the solution I'm suggesting right now might not work for everyone, which is also kind of again another downside. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But I do think taking breaks is a good thing. Sometimes we need to start fresh in order to get better growth. And
Mm.
yeah, I tried telling my players that I was coaching to do that, and some of them found good results after they just took a break, tried a game to have fun, like Santiago said. And yeah.
Awesome. Great response. Let's go to Chris.
Sure. So gaming can be a lot of different things depending, who you are. Like it can be a stress reliever, it can be a hobby, it could be a job, or it could be like all of them wrapped in one, right? The most important thing is moderation, of course. It's funny, like I think you're mentioning like you can only control what you control, and that's like one of my favorite things that I say, and something that like frustrates a lot of people around me. They're like, Chris, why aren't you getting upset about this? It's like I can't do anything. Like, what do you want me to do? And that's one thing that I think about a lot, like with gaming. Like for example, like I play World of Warcraft a lot. My friends are like bugging
Mm.
me to play Mythic Plus right now, but I'm like, sorry, I can't. I got to do this thing. But last night, for example, like we're trying to push these like next level type of stuff competitive wise, and they're freaking out going into this thing. Like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Like, look, guys, it doesn't matter. It happened. We got to move. We got to move past it. You know what I mean? Like, talk about it after. Recalibrate. Rethink. Um, One of my favorite players that we had, he had a notebook beside him for when he was playing solo queue, and he would take notes about when he died and why, and then he would go back and look at them. That was one of the things I think has really stuck with me throughout my time in esports. Whereas I don't see many players doing that. They just grind endlessly. It's like I'll walk up to them like, hey, what happened last game? You're like, oh, I don't know, I don't remember. It's like if you've gotten to that point, you're not going to be learning anything anymore, right? You're just playing the game. You're just playing it for the sake of playing it. So if your goal is to improve, think about that, right? It can't just be endlessly grinding ranked. You need to be looking at things. You need to be doing things outside of the game. For example, like our Call of Duty team, we were traveling to Illinois this past week for a championship, and all they did was talk about routes and strats and this and all that, like legitimate Call of Duty nerds. Like playing the game is just part of it, but you have to do research. You have to look at in depth about strategies and what your opponents are doing. If that's what your goal is to get to the next level, you got to think about it then more than just a game too, right? But in summary, everything in moderation. Make sure that you have your priorities in order. You got your chores done, and then you can unwind or take the time to actually put in your full attention span to the game if that's what your goals are.
Love your responses. Let's go to Eric.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm having like a whole mix of answers to this question. Like I think with online games, especially, like for me, the most positive aspect of them is that sense of like community and relationship that you can get from it. Um, and kind of like unfortunately, more recently, it seems like that happens a lot less often organically than it used to when I was like growing up playing a lot of games. Like I don't know. Like when I grew up and I played like Call of Duty or WoW or Maple Story, it was like I would just log on and like make friends and do things together. And I feel like that doesn't exist as much today. And I don't know if it's just because like everyone's following like guides and walkthroughs on the internet, or like it's just less like a lot less is happening in the game itself or something. So like um that's something that I find kind of sad. Like I only really like playing online games right now if I have like a group of people that I know to play with, because I think like that is like the real benefit, at least for me. But I think in a more general sense, like yeah, like games can be good and they can be bad, like it
Mm.
all comes down to how you're using it. And um I don't know, like it's always a weird conversation for me because like the way I grew up, I like wasn't super happy and I played a lot of games to kind of like distract myself from it. And made a lot of friends online doing that and got a job out of it. And so I'm like I don't have a very clear perspective on what it's actually like for most people. Um, but I will say like now for myself, like I enjoy playing single player games occasionally. And for the most part, I just like don't actually touch competitive online games anymore because it's just like I get so frustrated because I play the game and I know, and I'll like win a little bit and then I'll lose a little bit and I'll know that I like if I really wanted to, I could figure out more about the game and get better at it. But I have already done that and it didn't work for me, and so I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. So then I just play the game and lose and get mad, and so I'm like, okay, so I just don't play competitive games anymore.
Definitely, yeah. It was the same for me too because I currently have some friends that I currently play with that we sometimes like queue up for a game in like the finals, which is like a FPS,
Mhm.
pretty cool FPS game. So sometimes we queue up, we play some games on there. Sometimes one of us gets mad, and then it's kind of the energy just kind of brings us down a little bit because as we play more, we either win or lose in one of those few games. So it usually kind of whenever you get mad, it kind of drains your energy. So I definitely agree. Like the games usually right now are kind of like they're very more oriented to like the competitive scene. Like people want to play more of the competitive top esports titles like Overwatch. You got a CS:GO, Valorant, all those titles. But I believe like there's I believe there's still really a lot of benefits into playing single player games. Like for instance, me and my buddies are like playing a game called Far Far West, which is basically like a cowboys kind of bonding thing game, which I definitely feel like brought me some sort of relief from just competing and just ranking, playing a lot of ranked games and such. So yeah, And then I feel like that could be like one of the great things to like be introduced to.
Mhm.
So yeah, let's get into the next question. So one of the first things to go when the grind starts is sleep. How can gaming impact sleep patterns, and what measures can we actually take to promote healthier sleep habits? Let's go to Chris.
Yeah, sure. So, sleep is obviously dealing with students the number one thing that causes problems all the time. For me personally, like I'm generally like off my computer by like 8ish, and then I'm like in bed by 10. No matter what, if my gym schedule, my eating habits or whatever are bad, I always have like my sleep schedule to fall back on. And then I'm up, before 8 a.m. or earlier every day. And like my most productive time is like before 10 a.m. because I have no distractions. There's no one like tempting me to play games or go and do this and do that. Like I get everything done before 10 a.m. And I can't like emphasize enough how important it is to just to have that healthy sleep schedule. Obviously, it's so difficult getting that through to young adults, because they want to stay up all night. They want to do this. They want to do that. They want to sleep in all day. Their favorite thing is sleep. If you ask them, right? Um, but the most successful students that we've had have schedules. They know that they have really good time management. They're in the gym, they're doing all these things before scrims, right? Like they're not like coming to practice like, oh, I haven't even eaten yet. But it's like, dude, it's 7 o'clock. Like, what do you mean you haven't eaten yet? Yeah, I cannot emphasize this enough how important just working on a healthy sleep schedule is. You'll thank yourself later in life for sure.
Awesome response. Let's go to Santiago.
Um, yeah, no, sleep patterns or sleep in general is just I feel like if you're not having a structured sleep schedule and you're trying to be competitive and even sometimes just trying to have fun, that could even impact fun because irritability can increase. Um, but sleep is super, super important. I kind of suck at that because I don't really get sleep that often. I mean, I sleep good hours, but I feel like I should be getting more sleep. I should have a more structured schedule. And I think I remember asking another pro player maybe like 2, 3 years back, um, kind of expecting the answer to be like, just grind all night. No, he was like, I play 2 hours every day, focused, and then like sleep. But I make sure those 2 hours are focused. And then he was like, make sure you get sleep. Sleep is like super important. And I was just like, well, yeah, he's right, and I should follow that. And I did follow that schedule for a little bit, and it did help. It's just kind of staying consistent can also be
Mhm,
difficult. Um, just because in the conversation of mental health, that can also affect sleep, and then sometimes sleep might be kind of like you're doing everything right per se. You might be working out, eating, have a job and everything, but it's just like something about the mental health not being taken care of that's messing with your sleep schedule. So, yeah, I feel like gaming can impact sleep patterns negatively, but also positively if you can kind of work around that and make yourself a structure.
mhm,
And then measures to promote healthy sleep habits, I feel it's just kind of even presenting research. I feel like even presenting like, hey, people who have slept this many hours on average actually have produced, I don't know, this much elo and ranked compared to people who haven't. Something like that can be also helpful because sometimes, kind of just saying that you do it and it works for you might not be enough. I say that because as stubborn as I am, I feel like sometimes it doesn't work for me. And I'm just like, I'm gonna try something else. But then it's just like, no, I have to make sure I'm eating 3 meals a day. There's nothing really to do more than that. So
mhm.
yeah, it's definitely very, very important.
Yeah. Let's go to Lanby.
Yeah, so I personally I will say I am pretty guilty of staying up late, and like I'm no saint, I, but at least I know why. We're self-aware. So yeah, so the screens like they are not really that helpful when it comes to trying to fall asleep. And then like I hear like some of my players have told me like, can I like have like a YouTube video playing in the back when I'm trying to sleep? And I'm like, no. Why would you need that? And he's like, it helps. I'm like, Kappa. Don't know, right? Because like even like
Mm.
sometimes like as much as you want to watch that video, I don't think Tyler One screaming in your ear would help you fall asleep. But like the audio, like the noise, and then the brightness of the screen really like blue light really does affect like how your brain interprets sunlight and how it
Mhm.
like gauging sunlight, like how your brain interprets it does gauge when you fall asleep. If it affects your circadian rhythm heavily. Um and then yes, there are like lots of studies on how sleep does affect your performance in terms of esports, but I do want to emphasize as like a woman that those studies don't reflect on esport players that are women. So, and especially with like menstruation cycles, that can also play a huge effect on a woman's circadian rhythm. And so, like, yes, the advice that is given online may be helpful, but you there's not a much evidence or support that helps with people who have who go through menstrual cycles. So that is one thing that I do want to emphasize and make note of. And then I also wanted to talk about caffeine in terms of how it affects sleep. Like I would hear some of my players back then be like, "This is my third Red Bull of the day." It's like third. It is 7 p.m., buddy. And then especially with the fact that if you don't know, caffeine has how it's like digested, it has like a half time. So let's say I
Mhm.
digested 50 milligrams of caffeine. So and it takes like I want to say 4 hours, I believe. I could be wrong. I remember, but like by like half the day, like let's say I drank it at like 12, by like like 4 to like 6 p.m., like 3 to 6 hours. Now that I remember, yeah,
Mhm.
3 to 6 hours, I would have 25 milligrams still in my system. So that's not, and then starting to get towards nighttime, that's not helping me sleep. So, like, yes, I'm not saying you can't drink caffeine, but you also have to time it throughout your day. And therefore, you have to have discipline and have a good schedule, and that is very hard for a young adult, s- speaking as a young adult, because things change. I'm still figuring out things in life. I'm sure the person next to me is, and so forth. So when people say just go to bed, it's probably like the most like tone deaf thing someone could say as someone who is struggling to fall asleep at a appropriate time. That is my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. Let's go to Eric.
Yeah, I kind of have two answers to this. And I appreciate you bringing up like the caffeine and the women thing because that's not something that I've been made aware of at all. But um, the I guess for the professional answer for someone who's like playing on a team or playing collegiate, has like a schedule, like they have a life that they need to like show up for things at certain times, then yes, like it's super important to go to sleep on time. Like there's so many studies that show how when you get less sleep, you perform less well, and people who are sleep deprived are really bad at like self noticing it and like everyone in the studies will say they're like, oh, I'm feeling fine, and then they'll perform way worse when they're sleep deprived, and that's just kind of like how it is. Like it's really hard to notice, so it's just like important to do it. um and I would say like if you're on that kind of schedule, like the things that are really useful if you can do it is like having a real like nighttime routine where it's like what are you doing in the hour before sleep, because like ideally you're not on a computer, you're not on your phone, and so then like I think like the way to deal with that is to like have a routine where you fill your time and you like do a bunch of things that takes an hour and then you go to bed, and that is really hard. So I'm not saying like that is like what you should do, but I'm saying like that's like the goal of what you want to achieve. And you probably won't get there, and that's okay.
Mm.
um and then also for things that are helpful in terms of that, I know people, I've found good use out of doing like yoga nidras right before sleep, and that helps my like system calm down. And I know people who listen to audiobooks, like they listen to books that they know really well, they listen to a million times, and so like that can be really a way for their system to relax. Um, but like you're gonna find what works for you, and it is all about that consistency when you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the second part of my answer though is like if you don't have a schedule, I think it's actually very different. Because when I was playing and trying to go pro, and I'd like graduated high school, I'd applied to university, but I deferred a year because I wanted to try and go pro. My sleep schedule and the sleep schedule of everyone I played with, I was in like a similar position where it was just like the only thing we were doing was playing solo queue all day. Is that we would just like go to sleep later and later and later and later every day until we're going to sleep at like 8 in the morning, and we're like, okay, this seems um like my parents are looking at me weird. This is not flying super well, and we should like then we'd pull an all nighter, all dayer, um, and then go to sleep at like a reasonable time, and then it would happen again. And eventually, I read this study that talked about how actually, it's like most people talk about how the most alert time of the day, it's like somewhere between like 3 or 4 hours after you wake up. Like that's when you have the most focus, clarity, and energy. Um, but that's actually the second most time, most like alert time of the day. The most alert time of the day is 1 hour before you go to sleep. Um, and the study that I read talked about how it was like, like you need to find shelter for the night and make sure you're safe, and just like very old school human type shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I actually think like if you don't have a schedule, I don't think there's anything wrong with using that hour and just completely torpedoing your sleep cycle. Like if you have no obligations, no responsibilities, and you're just trying to like go pro and grind, then like that is going to be the hour where you might play the best every day, and it is going to make you sleep an hour later every single day. So I don't actually have an issue with that. Um, and I just thought it was really interesting to read the study and be like, everyone I knew was on that schedule where we would just like sleep later and later, and like none of us knew why, but we were just doing it anyways. And I think like there is a real reason for it. But yeah, if you have a life, then like yes, sleep regularly, because that it just like it's not consistent. And if you stay up an extra hour, and all of a sudden you're getting like 6, 5, 4 hours of sleep, you are gonna perform worse. Like it just like it doesn't matter at that point how much
Mm-hmm.
extra good practice you're getting. Um, and then the final thing I'll say is like as a pro, I aimed to get like 9 hours of sleep because I found like that was actually what I needed every night. And so I would just like schedule around that.
Yeah.
And so I think like sleep is super important if you're on a structured life. So
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your response. So my next question for everyone is it actually possible to have a fiercely competitive, highly successful gaming environment without the toxicity? Or are we fighting a losing battle against gaming culture? I'd like to pass the mic to Lanby.
Okay, so I feel like this is a very tough question. Um, so one of I feel like every panel I've been participating in CIE so far, I've been like leaving a quote. So my quote for this one is, "You can't do better if you don't know better." So what I mean by that is I feel like a lot of the toxicity that happens in esports is simply because of a lack of education, or um some or like the lack of openness to learn and grow from whatever the issue is. Some like for me when I was doing the health and wellness coaching and the performance coaching over at Humber Esports, I wasn't really able to tap into all of our players, get them to change their habits a little more, or even like the smaller things. Like some of them just refuse to do so, and you um and you know what, like you can't save them all, I will say, but you know what, as like someone who has a passion in this profession, it's not like I'm going to give up and not try, but the one thing that I make sure that I don't do is give so much of myself where I am harming myself
Mhm.
into trying to save someone who doesn't want to be saved, if that makes. And yeah, take that how you will, but um I do think it's huge to take every moment that you experience and try to learn from it, even if it's a good one or a negative one from what you perceive it as, and at least learn from it. And like remember how it made you feel and like how to prevent it if you can't control it, or at least try to like like look inward on yourself rather than
Mhm.
outward and things like that. And yeah, that is my I don't so necessarily I don't think it's a losing battle. I just think if more people were open to learning, then I think the toxicity would definitely decrease in terms of health and mental wellness in esports.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go to Santiago.
Um, I feel like toxicity, especially in the gaming environment, um, will always exist, but at the same time, it's like some toxicity should not be tolerated. You know, there's some toxicity in the community where it's like I always think about all the clips on Twitter I've seen from like Valorant gameplay
Mhm.
of a lot of women playing online and getting harassed every lobby or something like that, and it's just like that type of toxicity I don't think is supposed to be tolerated at all. And then there's toxicity of somebody being like, "Oh, you're so bad." That is just kind of like, "Oh, there's always going to be somebody out there who's going to be like, 'Oh, you're terrible.' Meanwhile, you're like destroying them." It's just that's part of it, but then toxicity such as, you know, um just harassing women for no reason in online games and stuff. That's why for me, I'm also very happy where at the high school I work at, a lot of them play Fortnite.
Mhm.
I always, with my chest out and everything, I'm like, my wife can beat you in Fortnite, 1,000%. And then like I think I did that with my nephew, and he was like, I have over 2,000 hours, this and that, and I'm like, okay, she doesn't really need a build either. And yeah, it was great. It was great to watch her play and destroy him.
Mhm.
So I just think like toxicity shouldn't be. There's a lot of toxicity that shouldn't be tolerated, not just in the gaming community, just in general. And I think that applies to the gaming community. Just because I feel like competition is always good, friendly competition, friendly, just kind of like talking smack to one another. As I mentioned, like watching Call of Duty per se, like there was a lot of Call of Duty pros could like talk smack to each other on stage, and then backstage they're dapping each other up like, wow, like that match was great, like this and that. So it always also depends on the pros too, you know, because you always want to be respectful. It's like, okay, this pro, you know, you don't want to, or this person, you don't really want to kind of joke around with them like that because they might take it personally and you're not trying to be toxic versus people who are okay with it and can just literally in the middle of being like quote unquote insulting their skill to each other, kind of still learn, still be like, wait, but how did you do that? And like, can you teach me how to do that? Or like stuff like that too.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think the fighting battle against this is just all the toxicity that shouldn't be welcome in the community. And then in terms of quote unquote other toxicity, it's just like the one that'll always be there is just salty players that just don't know what else to say. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely agree. Let's go to Chris.
Sure. So I think there's toxicity, then there's ego. I think, there's definitely a line between it. A little bit of ego is normal, especially when you're competing at the high levels, and somehow there's even ego at the lowest levels that we've all kind of dealt with as well for whatever reason. We've removed players from our teams for toxicity. However, we've also given players second chances because we're educators at the end of the day. A lot of these kids have come, like I mentioned earlier, like they've never even played in a team environment before. They've never even been in person. We need to try to teach them, like, no, that's not how you act, right? Like that's not appropriate. So I think again, I'll go back to, like, as we build this scholastic and high school pipeline, ideally they can learn those skills much, much earlier, and they will be better humans by the time they get, into those ranked type of games and lobbies because they've learned those skills. Um, Yeah, like I think the most important thing we could do with toxicity is just to keep calling it out when we see it. It's never going to disappear, but we need to correct it as best as we can whenever we do see it, right?
Hmm.
To to defend anyone from anything. There's definitely hard lines that we have, zero, no second chances types of things, for sure. But then there's also things that you need to take a year or semester off, and you need to come back and you need to explain to me why we should let you back onto the team, types of things too. um, yeah, we're still building the foundation a lot of the times for these younger people, to learn what is okay and what is not okay, because yeah, they're just sometimes just staying up all night grinding and just saying whatever they want with no consequences. But as they apply to my program, they will learn very quickly that it's a very small world, especially at the higher elos, where I get DM'd stuff all the time. It's like, your player's running it down. You should kick them off the team. It's like, cool, whatever. Hey, can you stop doing that, please? That'll be my response. But then I also get other messages that are not as savory, right? Where I have to like take corrective action. And these players don't realize how small the world is, where, especially if you have a handle in your name, someone is going to come after you, if you do the wrong thing or step over the wrong line. So obviously, um, make sure you're taking care of yourself, but just like don't do dumb things at the same time too.
Hmm.
Just
That's
be
awesome.
normal. Just be normal.
Yeah. Let's go to Eric.
Yeah, I think I mean I think when it comes to online community, like there's kind of a limit to what you can do. Like I think like hate speech shouldn't be tolerated and things like that, where it's like you just ban the people that do it. That's great. But I think like I think it was Santiago who was talking about like the what a save toxicity. It's like no matter what limits you put into the online community, like they will use it to be toxic, and there's just like not so much you can do about that. Um, and like like as someone who plays League and has bad games, it's like you never ever want to read Twitch chat or look at what they were saying after that or go into the Reddit comments. Like just it's always going to be really negative and toxic and just like better to not do that. But the place that I think is like the place to really be healthier is the in person. Like I think it's all about building those in person communities, in person groups, like whether it's like a collegiate team or like a play center or just like whatever it is that you can work to build like a healthier culture where players aren't toxic and they get to like talk about the things that are actually bothering them and like get heated but like not hate each other at the end of the day and like have things be really off limits for how you're going to talk to each other. um so I think like it is much more possible in person to set those guidelines. I think the internet's a bit of a wash and you just like kind of go into it at your own risk. um but again, I will say like at the end of the day, it's not it's never going to be the most important thing in competition. So like in esports, healthy a healthy team environment matters to people as it serves performance. Like it doesn't matter for itself. Like there's not going to be really many teams where they're like our number one goal is healthy team environment and competition we care less about. Like that's just not that realistic. And there are like players that are really good. If you're really good, it's like the whole kind of like Michael Jordan thing where it's like you can be toxic if you carry, like that's kind of like the rules. And so I don't see that that would ever really go away. And so I do think there is kind of a limit to it, but I also think it is really important to build healthy community in person. So, um,
Hmm.
yeah, a bit of both.
Awesome responses. Thank you. So, as we wrap up our discussion today, if you could give one piece of advice to every gamer watching right now about protecting their mental health, what would it be? Let's go to Santiago.
Can you repeat the question? I know you
Oh,
just
sure
said it,
thing.
but my ADHD.
It's all good. So, if you could give one piece of advice to every gamer watching right now about protecting their mental health, what would it be?
uh, One piece of advice, I'd say honestly, kind of taking care of yourself in the best way possible, where you also don't lose yourself.
Hmm.
So kind of like staying true to yourself while also just making sure you're, physically healthy, mentally healthy, and you're able to express yourself um, kind of all around. Even in gaming, I feel like gaming, you always have sort of an identity, and so I feel like that's always important. And also, along with that piece of advice, kind of integrated into it is just having patience. Just a lot of patience.
Mm,
Um, kind of rolling with the punches. So yeah.
great. Let's go to Eric.
Yeah, I have kind of two pieces of advice. One is that like I think it's really important to like I think gaming is great and I think it's been a huge part of my life and I don't ever want to stop playing video games, but I think it's really important to have other things also. So just like try other things, get outside, like getting out in nature, going for a walk is good for you, even if you like don't have to do anything else as long as you get out there. So just like do other things and like figure out things that you like that aren't gaming. Um, and then kind of my second piece of advice, which is more like, yeah, you're gonna game anyways, is use that mute button. Like there's a lot of people online that just like it's better to just not like just like don't deal with that and just hit that mute button, move on with your life, have a good time, and yeah, just do that.
Mhm. Awesome. Let's go to Lanby.
You lose everything else that's important, like your relationships, like your familial relationships, your friendships, your maybe your relationship, and your responsibilities, like making sure those bills get paid and whatnot. Um, yeah, I think it's very important to be kind to yourself and let yourself know that sometimes we do the best we can and we may not get the result that we want. And as I said earlier, you can only control so much within your own grasp. And sometimes you have to let certain things go. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me.
Great. And finally, Chris.
To add on to Eric's point about going outside and going for walks, my favorite or my the thing I hate about most about mental health walks is that they work. I think that's something that a lot of people say. They're like, "Damn, now I have to go outside more often." But it's true. Like, just go outside, get some sun every once in a while. That's a really easy one. The next one is a little bit easier said than done, but I can kind of speak from experience. Is that like if you are struggling or going through something, is to talk to someone. I set
Mm,
myself back like years in my career and in my life because I just like refused to accept certain things going on within my mental health and the situations that I was in. I just be like, no, it'll fix itself. It'll work. I'll just do this and this and this, and then it just didn't. So don't be afraid to ask for help or to talk to someone. It takes time. It's not going to fix itself overnight, right? It's a lot like going to the gym for the first time. It's like why am I not ripped after a month? Well, it's because you treated your body poorly for 10 years. Like it's going to take time to get there, right? So you have to be patient, give yourself time. And like everyone else said, it's like you can only control what you control. Do the best you can. There's going to be things out of your control that are going to be frustrating and upset you, and that's normal, right? Like that's a normal human feeling to have, especially with the way things are in the world right now. Maybe you can't get a job, but you can only control what you control. Do the best you can. But if I could give one piece of advice to anyone, it would just be, if you need help, go talk to someone.
great. Amazing insights. Thank you so much to our panel for being so open and sharing your expertise with us today. Before we let you all go, a massive thank you to the sponsors making CIE 2026 happen. To help you focus on what's important, BMO has checking and savings accounts, credit cards, and borrowing options specifically designed for students. Open a BMO student account and get up to $950 in value, including $175 in cash with BMO's current student offers. Visit bmo.com/students for details. Also, shout out to BMO Next Level, a first of its kind program dedicated to helping gamers level up in game and IRL, run by BMO's gaming relations specialist, Sean Frame. Type exclamation mark BMO or exclamation mark BMO NXT LVL in chat for more details. And don't forget, for all the Valorant streams during CIE, we have the new budget and play powered by BMO and BMO Next Level. The first 10, 50 round wins of CIE earns $10 towards the charity of that team's choice, the Canadian Red Cross, Feed the Children, or the Terry Fox Foundation. Next up, One of Zero has applied CIE with 6 gaming minds that makes you better at what you do. Type exclamation mark raffle in the CIE underscore GGS main channel chat for a chance to win one of the 6 gaming minds supplied by One of Zero. Code like a maniac, design like a girl, and game like an assassin. Take pride in your setup and look good while you achieve it all. Discover your inspiration, defy definition, be one of zero. Type exclamation mark one of zero in chat to learn more. Now, as we wrap up, would you guys like to give any shout outs on screen before the stream ends? Let's go to Lanby.
Yeah, so it's a pleasure being here, and I'm so happy that I got invited to this panel a second time. Huge shout out to all the CIE staff and admin, and yeah, you can find me on my socials, Suki.2212 on Instagram, Suki underscore 2212 on Twitter, and yeah.
Awesome. Santiago?
Yeah, just kind of special shout outs to everyone who's part of like organizing this panel, organizing everything. I think this is I want to say it's my third year doing this panel or second year. I think third year. So yeah, it's always a pleasure coming on here talking about mental health because I feel like ever since I combine that mental health and my career profession, many opportunities arise, such as this panel. So, um, yeah, and then for me, you could just find me at Snoop SD1 on just all social medias. I'm on Twitter is mostly the one for gaming, or X it's called, whatever it's called now. But yeah, and also still another shout out to my wife. I just want to flex her accuracy in Fortnite averages at like around 50% to 55%. And she had no idea how good that was until I explained it. I was like, you realize you're averaging like a pro Fortnite player type of accuracy. He's like, oh wow, I didn't know. It's like cool. On a PS4 as well. Yeah, she's killing it on my PC. But yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Eric?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and thanks to everyone at CIE for hosting this. Appreciate it a lot. It's cool to be here for my first time. If you are interested in coaching, I do work with everyone. Like I'm coming out of the gaming world, and so like that's like a really easy in for me. But I'm happy to work with anyone. I'm mostly focused on just helping people be happier, more themselves. So if you're interested in that, website is ericritchiecoaching.com. And yeah, I don't know. Happy to be here. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you. Let's go to Chris.
Firstly, thank you to CIE for inviting me. I had a great time. Shout out to all the students that are involved, especially everyone from St. Clair. But yeah, great opportunity for everyone to get involved. I guess shout out to my Mythic Plus rating group that pushes my mental health to its limit every day. I've learned a lot and gained a lot of resilience from that. Um, if you want to join, collegiate, I'm more than happy to chat, even if it's not with St. Clair. Happy to point you into the right direction, regardless of what your kind of interests are. You want to add it? I'm on Twitter X, Chris_Funston, or you can add me on Discord.atmosphere.
Great. Awesome. Thank you again to Lanby, Santiago, Eric, and Chris. You all have all been incredible. Chat, stick around because coming up next at 4 p.m. PST or 7 p.m. EST, we have the Valorant Finals. You don't want to miss this. I am Brian Hernandez. Remember to take care of yourselves and revive your jet. See you next time.